Hello, my friends. This is part two of an incredibly long, spoilery reading vlog slash experience of A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J Maas. This is part two. I had to chunk it up because of technical issues, but if you haven't seen part one, you need to watch that first. It's linked down below. Okay, let's pick up where we left off. Okay, Farah's gone onto the mountain. Alice has left her and been like, cool, see you, have fun. I'm off to rescue my nephews from elsewhere. And Farah's going along these really dark tunnels. She's scared, poor baby. And she gets found, shocker, by an actor, this scary creature she's seen before. It's not important, probably. And she's been taken to Amarantha, which is exactly kind of where she kind of needed to be taken, I guess. Because we don't really know what Feyre's plan was. It was get under the mountain, but like, that's it. She's under the mountain. She's found Amarantha. Let's go. And next to Amarantha, there's Tam Tam. And his eyes didn't widen. His mouth didn't tighten. No claws, no fangs. He just stared at me, unfeeling, unmoved, unimpressed. So Amarantha's like, what's this human doing here? Why have you brought me this insignificant nobody? And Feyre's like, I have come to claim the one I love. You go, girl. Proud of you. Proud of you. So Amarantha figures out like that she killed the wrong girl, because remember Claire was taken, and she says to Tamlin, oh, you are delicious. You let me torture that innocent girl to keep this one safe? You lovely thing. You actually made a human worm love you. Marvelous. She's such a baddie. Amarantha is wearing a necklace with what looks like a human finger bone on it, and she has a ring, and the stone looks like a human eye cast in crystal. She's a vibe. Oh, Claire's body is still there, nailed on the wall, and it's gnarly. Poor girl. And Amarantha's like, Tamlin watched me. He let me do that to her, You sure you love him? And she's like, yup. Her lip, Amarantha, her lip curled back, revealing two sharp canines. And as I stared into her black eyes, I realized I was going to die. So Amarantha turns to Tam Tam, and she's like, what have you got to say about this? Your girlie's here. And he's like, I've never seen her before. Someone must have glamoured her. It was probably Rhysand. You're like, oh, Tam. I think the jig's up, buddy. And the eye in the ring, that's Jurian's eye. Okay, so of course, Amarantha's like, let's have some fun. So she's like, here's what we're going to do, babe. I'm going to set you 3 tasks, and if you do them, you can have Tamlin. Okay? And Feyre's like, you're a tricksy bitch. So I get Tamlin, and you remove the curse, and everybody gets to walk out of here free. Okay? Like, you're not gonna get me, lady. And Amarantha's like, okay. Sure, definitely. But I'm gonna add another element too, because this isn't complicated enough. There's the 3 tasks, but if at any point it gets too hard for you, you can just answer this riddle. She doesn't give her the riddle, but she's like, I'll give you a riddle, and if you solve it, you can be free. So let's see. Sorry, something just popped up on my phone. I got confused. Yeah, but if you get the riddle wrong, you can answer it at any time. But if you get it wrong, you're going to end up like your girl Claire. So that's where we're at. Cool. And Feyre's also like, what happens if I fail a task? And Amarantha says, if you fail a task, there won't be anything left of you for me to play with. Cool. This seems absolutely fine and not stressful at all. And then, right, so the tasks are going to be at the full moon, so like a month apart. And in the meantime, Feyre's either going to be kept in a cell or put to work doing some housework. Cool. So they agree, that's what they're going to do. And then Amarantha's like, cool. Give her a greeting worthy of my hall. And then loads of the fairies beat the fucking shit out of her. So Feyre is in a dungeon and she is messed up. She's got a broken nose. She's in a bad way. And then someone comes into her cell. And it's our boy Lucian. He's just managed to get past the guards because the guards are drunk. And he fixes her broken nose and he takes the swelling down a bit. He can't heal her completely because then they'd know that someone helped her, but he's helping. And they're having a little chat. He's pissed that she came back because he's like, do you know what Tamlin sacrificed to get you away? And now you have come here. So like, what was the fucking point? But they're cute. They've got this kind of like sibling vibe. And yeah, we have found out that Amarantha's ring, you know, Jurian's eye that she's got in the ring, his soul is bound to that. So like, he's sort of alive and watching through that eye. Yikes. Okay, so Feyre's been taken to Amarantha. Everyone is assembled. They're all looking like clean and fancy. Feyre's looking like a piece of shit. And Amarantha's like, I didn't sleep well last night. And here is why. I don't even know your name. And Feyre's like, just doesn't say anything. Like, and then Amarantha's like, okay. Rhysand and Rhys, our boy Rhys, like walks up behind Feyre, stands next to her. He's all like cash. And Amarantha's like, is this the girl you saw in the manor? And he's like, maybe. And she's like, didn't you say that other girl was the girl you saw in the manor? And we're like, oh shit, Rhys protected Feyre, huh? And he's like, whatever, like nonchalant, nothing phases him. He's like, yeah, all humans kind of look the same to me. And we're like, okay, this boy's being a little bit sassy with Amarantha. Like, okay, cool. And she's like, well, if she's not going to tell me her name, let's make this fun. And they get Lucian. Pull Lucian out the crowd. And Amarantha commands Rhys to hold Lucian's mind, you know, like how he did with Feyre, where she felt like there were claws in her mind and like he could have just like crushed her mind. So he's holding Lucian's mind and he's casual as fuck about it, doesn't even take his hands out of his pockets. And Lucian's brothers are there. Remember, like, he had that whole backstory where his brothers are all fucking assholes and they're like at the sidelines, like, because funsies to watch your little brother get, you know, whatever, mind fucked. And Feyre shouts her name because obvs, she's not gonna let Lucian's mind get fucked up. But angel baby boy that he is, he was totally gonna let Thingy do it. Like, he didn't even, not even a chance that Lucian was gonna tell Amarantha her name. So Lucian's a good boy. Rhys, he might also be a good boy. Good boys all around. Well done, everybody. No, I actually started recording there because I needed to tell you the riddle. Right, so Amarantha gives Feyre the riddle. Now, I thought she was going to have to ask for the riddle at some point, but it turns out she can just have the riddle and then carry on doing the tasks, and when she gets the answer to the riddle, which seems kind of easy. So let me tell you the riddle, and you can guess what it is. I don't have the brain power to guess what it is right now, so cool. There are those who seek me a lifetime, but never we meet, and those I kiss, but who trample me beneath ungrateful feet. At times I seem to favour the clever and the fair, but I bless all those who are brave enough to dare. By large my ministrations are soft-handed and sweet, but scorned I become a difficult beast to defeat. For though each of my strikes lands a powerful blow, when I kill, I do it slow. So Feyre doesn't have a fucking clue about that riddle, and she realizes that when Amarantha gave her the riddle, she was like, solve this and I'll let you guys go immediately, you know? And Feyre's wondering about that word immediately and whether or not that means the terms of the general agreement, if she does the 3 tasks, they might not be let go immediately, because she made it sound like only with the riddle can you go immediately. So there's that. Task 1. A muddy maze and a giant worm with razor-sharp teeth. I had an accidental nap, but you know, that's what Sunday afternoons are for. Here's what I remember from before. Eyelash in my eye. I fell asleep. Right. Challenge 1. Worm in a maze. At first, Feyre's just running. She's just running. She's pretty good. She figures out it can't see her. It's blind. She falls in a big hole, discovers a load of bones, realizes it's a den. She snaps up all the bones, sticks them into the ground, all jaggedy like that. Uses bones to make a little ladder to get back out. Covers herself in mud. Goes, looks for the worm, cuts her hand, goes, yo, 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 smell this blood. Loses sight of the worm for a bit, and then hears this voice from the crowd being like, to your left! And it's Lucian. So, runs. Jumps down into the hole, into a special bit that she left bone free for herself. Thinking. Worm follows her, worm is impaled, worm dies. Amarantha is not pleased that Feyre has passed this first test. Everyone was placing bets on her. Amarantha's only one person even bet that you would live. So, well done, Feyre. But while she was doing that, when she jumped down into the thing, she didn't land perfectly, and one of the big bone shards is through her upper arm. So she's not feeling great. So she goes off back to her cell, and absolutely no one comes to let her wash, to tend her wound. It's been a couple of days. She's got a fever. She's telling herself it's not an infection. It's you're covered in muddy feces, and you've got an open wound that isn't healing. So, oh dear. And she's praying that Lucian's gonna come back to her, right? Lucian doesn't, and someone else does. Who? Our boy Rhys. So, He's like, hey, well done, good job. I was the one that bet that you would live, so you made me a lot of money. And she's like, okay, thrilled for you. Get out, get out, get out. Because, you know, he's a baddie, right? He's too hot to be a baddie. You just know when it's the most beautiful man in the world that you guys are going to shag at some point, which means he can't be a bad baddie. He's just a bad boy. Different. Okay, so Rhysand is like, I will heal you. Don't worry about it. And Feyre's like, what's the price? And he's like, oh, well done. There's always a price. You're right, you're right. When this is over and you complete the 3 tasks, and you go back with like your lover boy, Tam Tam, maybe here's what we'll do. You'll spend 2 weeks of every month, so like half your time, with me in the Night Court. And Feyre's like, no thank you. No, get out, go to hell. And he's like, okay, yeah, okay, I see what you're doing. You are dying though. You know deep down that you're dying. And Lucien hasn't come for you yet. Are you sure he's definitely gonna come and help you? Because Feyre is kind of remembering that Lucien doesn't seem to have the best grasp on humanity sometimes. Doesn't always seem to understand how much frailer we are than the Fae, right? So he might not come, and if he doesn't come, she is gonna die. And if she dies, obviously, so does everyone's chance of getting out from under the mountain. So, like, it would be selfish of her to die. So she's like, oh, fuck, I'm gonna have to take this guy's deal. But, you know, she's not an idiot, so she's gonna bargain with him. She's like, 5 days. He's like, 10 days. And she's like, a week. And he's like, gotcha, okay. No problem, baby. And he heals her up. So, and I guess now we know what's happening with book 2 with some forced proximity with Rhysand. 1 week out of the month. Wonder how that's gonna go. This must have been right as I was falling asleep. And when they struck this bargain, she wakes up and now on her left arm is like a fucking tattoo, like a massive like sleeve. She's got like an eye on her palm, like all up her arm. And he's like, oh yeah, when we do bargains, it kind of leaves a mark, FYI. Bye. And she's like, and now Tam Tam is gonna know that she struck a bargain with someone. And is he gonna be a pleased boy? Maybe not. Sarah is given some tasks to do in between her official tasks. The first one of which is to clean a marble hallway, but they only give her muddy, disgusting water. So it's just getting dirtier and dirtier and dirtier. And they're like, if this isn't shining by supper time, we're gonna put you on a spit and we're gonna roast you. So she's like, okay. And it's not working, obviously. You can't wash a white marble floor with muddy water. They won't let her have clean water. Nightmare. And then in walks this red-headed lady. And we know who she is straight away. She's Lucian's ma'am, High Lady of the Autumn Court. And she's like, looks at Feyre and is like, because you gave your name in exchange for my son's life. Remember when, like, Rhysand was holding Lucian's mind and he could have cracked it like an egg, and he didn't because Feyre said, my name's Feyre. I will help you. My debt is paid. And she, like, waves a hand, and she doesn't, like, clean the floor. She just cleans the water. So that Feyre can then scrub the entire fucking room that she's been making filthy for the last however long. I'm like, thanks, but, like, you could have helped more, lady. But apparently she smells like roasting chestnuts, so whatever, I'm still into her. Then task 2, they're like, okay, next task. They they take her to like a undergroundy, dungeony bedroom. She's like, the owner of this room, there was an accident. One of the household staff spilled some lentils in the fireplace. So you have to get all the lentils out. And it's like dark in there. There's only like a couple of candles. And they're like, oh, and if you don't do it by the time they get back, they're gonna like pull strips off you. So get to. And she does. But like it's really hard because she can't really see properly. And she doesn't know when the person's coming back, so she's freaking out. And then in walks Resand, and he's like, hey, girl, nice to see you. Why are you in my fireplace? So presumably the guards were like, he's a baddie, so we'll put her in his room, funsies. But he's not really a baddie, is he? So she's like, I was told to, like, she was like, was this your idea? And he's like, no, like, obviously not. Like, my idea's way better than that. And they have a little chin wag. She finds out that she asks if he can shapeshift. And he's like, yeah, all High Lords can. And then he kind of shows her, but he doesn't fully transform, but he like gets like talons and some like bat wings. And also because she asks about his powers, she's like, do you have more powers than everyone else because you're like Amarantha's favorite? And he's like, no, this is my remnant. So like all that mind stuff he can do is what he can do with 5% of his power. Oh dear. And then she asks him, she's like, hey, do you know the answer to the riddle? Because, you know, I could get everyone out of here instantaneously if I had the answer to the riddle. And he's like, wow, nice try. Nice cheaty try. I can't tell you. No one can tell you, because after you left that first time, Amarantha commanded us, said that none of us could help you. No, so, you know, none of us can tell you the answer, so I can't, soz. And she's like, really? And he's like, yeah, no, literally, like, if she commanded us to stop breathing, we would all stop breathing, so can't help you there. And then the guards come back, and he's like, she's finished her task. And then he, like, does some, like, mindy stuff on them. He, like, looks at them, and he's like, no more household chores, okay? And don't ever touch her, okay? And their, like, faces go all slack, and they're like, oh. So, like, Reese has done her a solid. Why? I couldn't guess. Okay, Feyre is in her cell, chilling, trying to solve the riddle. Not solving the riddle. Two High Fae enter her room. They're all shadowy, and she's like, Night Court. And they don't say anything. They grab her by the arms. They walk her through the closed door, and around the castle a bit into, well, not castle, place, and take her to this room, take all her clothes off, wash her, and paint her. They paint her. They paint all over her body. And so like from the neck up, she's like dolled up, right? Rouge, all that. And then they've just like painted all over her body. Like they've continued the design of her tattoo all over her body. And then they dress her in a basically see-through, flimsy, togery situation. I think we're having our layer in the gold bikini moment. So that's happening. And then in walks Resand. And he's like, hey. And she's all like, our bargain hasn't started yet. What the fuck is all of this? And it says, the instincts that had once told me to be quiet around Tam and Lucian utterly failed me when Resand was near. Something special about this boy, Feyre? Is there something special about this boy? Me. Okay, so Rhys is taking her to a party as his date. And the paint is so he knows if anyone touches her. Possessive, these boys, aren't they? So he, like, draws a line on her shoulder, and the paint immediately like goes back to what it's supposed to be. But he's like, yeah, your dress won't mar it, and like you'll be able to move fine, but like if another person's hands touch you, say, I don't know, someone whose name rhymes with Tam. I so was gearing up to say Bam Bam, but fuck it, you know, if Tamlin touches you, I will know, and I don't like my belongings being tampered with. We don't like that. Yeah, Rhys has taken her to the midsummer party, basically, so he can parade her out in front of Tamlin, and tells Amarantha and Tamlin about their bargain. So that's gone down like a cup of cold sick. And then he makes her drink the wine. Remember Alice said, rule number 1 under the mountain, don't drink the wine? But he makes her. As in, he says drink, and her hand just goes to the goblet and she drinks. Ooh. Now, this is going to not a good place. So, after Feyre drinks the wine, she wakes up in her cell, can't remember shit. And Lucian comes, and he's like, hey baby, why did you make a deal with Rhysand? Didn't you know that I would come as soon as I could? And she's like, yeah, no, I didn't know that you would come, so I kind of took the deal because I was literally dying. And he was like, okay, well, you know, I came as soon as I could, but never mind. And he tells her what she did last night, which is basically Rhysand gets her drunk and makes her dance for him in a sexy way, and then she sits on his lap, and then she dances, and then she sits on his lap all night in front of Tamlin, and that then carries on. He does that like every night. And so she's like getting hammered basically every night, and then being really hungover during the day every day. Not very conducive to riddle solving, Rhysand. But anyway, when Lucian's in the cell with her, he's like, she does say sorry for, like, that she was sorry about him getting punished, because he did get punished for shouting, to your left. And they made Tamlin do it. They made Tamlin, like, whip him, basically. And then Amarantha stopped their powers from working, like their healing powers. So he's literally not been able to move since that happened, which is why he hadn't come earlier. But, yeah, so basically, Lucian tried his best, but still probably Feyre would be dead if she hadn't taken the deal with Rhysand. And Rhysand is now getting her drunk and making him give her lap dances every night in front of the entire court. So that's not great behaviour. We don't love that. So Rhysand's just told her that the second task is happening the next day, and they're bickering like only people who find each other really hot bicker, and chatting about, you know, why is he taunting Tamlin like this? And he's like, because it gives me great pleasure. And then she's like, you saved my life. And he's like, yep, and by saving your life, I saved Tamlin's life. And she's like, why? And then he's like, well, that, Feyre, is the real question, isn't it? So for some reason, Rhysand needs Tamlin alive. Do we think this boy has a plan? I hope so, because he's doing some, like, shady shit. Shadier than I would like, if I'm eventually going to have to root for this man, you know? They go to the throne room. This is the day before the task. And there's a high fae, like, cowering in front of Amarantha's dais. And it turns out that he tried to escape through like the spring court tunnels, and Amarantha's like, find out, Rhysand, what was going on. So Rhys is there, and there's the High Lord of the Summer Court, who were one of the courts that rebelled against Amarantha. So they're quite new to Under the Mountain too, like along with Spring Court. And so yeah, we don't know much about them. But we know they're not like under Amarantha's spell yet. So, Rhys goes up to the guy, looks into his mind, is like, okay, yeah, he acted alone. He just wanted to get away, no motivation other than his own cowardice. Shrug. And Amarantha's like, huh. And the High Lord of Summer's like, because probably that's not true, right? And Rhys is covering for him, in which case, like, why is Rhys covering for him? Is it because he has a plan? And please have a plan, Rhys. And yeah, then she's like, okay, well, shatter his mind, Rhysand. And he's always like super chill, Rhys. Like, just kind of does whatever she tells him to do. Doesn't seem to faze him, but he kind of like is a little bit tentative here. And then he goes up to the Fae and he like looks at him, because that's all it appears to be when Rhys does anything with his mindy tricks. And then the fairy just like dies, like blood out of its nose, blood out of his ears, dies. Kind of like a mercy killing, because Amarantha is like, I said shatter his mind, not liquefy his brain. And he was like, oh, sorry. And then he just like strolls to the back of the throne room, which is like a big room, just like walks away, turns his back on her like, sorry, and walks away cash as, and then in her head, Feyre's like, it's probably all part of his games, like it's probably a game that he's playing, you know, he probably didn't do it for any good reason. I'm like, okay, Feyre, we've been on this merry-go-round before, but okay. And yeah, so that's that. And up next we've got task 2. Task 2 is some kind of puzzle. She has to move levers because, like, to indicate what answer she wants to give. I've not read very far yet. But Lucian, baby Lucian, is like chained up in the middle of the room, and there's these like things being lowered from the ceiling that are gonna like impale and squish him. And that's her timer. My little fox boy, Lucian. I love Lucian. We don't like this. And the task involves reading, which we know Feyre is not super great at. She can see some basic words that she knows, like the and but and went, but other than that, she doesn't know what any of the words say. Oh dear. Ooh, the spikes are not just spikes, they're like hot. And they are bearing down on they're gonna land on Feyre too, so they're both gonna get impaled and then squished. And Feyre's just looking at the words like and Lucian's too far away to be able to see them, so he's absolutely no help. Oh dear. If only there was a character who could, you know, get into minds. There he is. So Feyre, like, Lucian's like, just fucking pick one, man. Like, just pick one. And she's like, okay, I'm just gonna have to fucking guess. And she goes to pick the middle one, number 2, because 2's her lucky number. And of course, Amarantha would honor that. So she goes to pull the lever for like number 2, and gets this like blistering pain in her hand. And when she looks at her hand, it's the tattoo of the eye that Rhys put there. And she's like, that's weird, and then goes to pull 2 again and gets the pain again. And it's like, Feyre, come on, catch up, sweetheart, come on. And then she like goes to like the number 1 lever, pain, blinding pain. And she's like, okay. Goes to the 3rd one, no pain. All right. doesn't just pull the lever even though the fucking spikes are descending, looks around, finds Rhysand in the crowd, and he's just like looking bored or whatever, like, and Lucian is like, Feyre, for the love of fucking God, please pull the fucking lever. And she pulls the third lever. And what do you know? The spikes stop. Attaboy, Rhys. Feyre's like, I couldn't read and it had almost killed me. And I like that nod to the importance of literacy. Thanks, SJM. So Feyre's like freaking out. Because like, she's won the task, but obviously the first one she did actually manage to do by herself with a little bit of help from Lucian. And this one, she just would never have been able to do it. And so she's like having a major wobble in the immediate aftermath. And then she hears this voice in her head that's like, stand up. Don't give her the satisfaction of seeing you crumble. Come on, girl, stand up. Chill out, you got this. And it's Rhys in her head. So with the help of Rhys's voice in her head, she manages to get back to her cell, like, relatively composed, and then she freaks the fuck out and is weeping. She's like crying for hours and hours. Then Rhys comes to see her, and he's like, you don't, like, you've just beaten her second task, like, you don't need to be crying, come on, this is good. And she just weeps harder, and then he like gets down in front of her and he like pulls her arms away from her face and licks the tears from her cheek. Is that... I would not care for that. Unless you're my dog. So, like, he keeps licking her face until he gets like up to like where her eyelashes are. And she like scrambles up and she's like, fuck off, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, I thought that would get you to stop crying. And she was like, it was disgusting. And he's like, was it? And I'm like, it sounded pretty disgusting, yeah. Sauce, babe. Even hot boys do gross things. As Rhys is leaving, he's like, I've been thinking up ways to torment you when you come visit the Night Court. And will assigning you to learn to read be as painful as what I just witnessed today? And she's like, fuck you. And then he disappears. And then she says, it took me a long while to realize that Rhysand, whether he knew it or not, had effectively kept me from shattering completely. I think he knew, babe. Yeah, I think he knew. So when the two handmaids who get her dressed every night and paint her up are collecting her, they hear the ACOTAR coming. Remember, he's one of the like bad demony fairies. And they like hide behind a tapestry and like, cool. And they overhear the ACOTAR talking to something else. We don't know what, who. But they're talking about the King of Highburn, remember him? And it sounds like this other person is here, like, from the King of Highburn. And he's like, Highburn is not very impressed with Amarantha right now because she's not sending forces. And he's getting pissed. So there's that. Big party right before the task. And Tamlin has managed to get away from Amarantha, and they have managed to sneak off together. I am shocked. So they're getting down and dirty in some like corridor. Our tongues danced, not a waltz or a minuet, but a war dance, a death dance of bone drums and screaming fiddles. So Rhys is not going to be too happy when he sees all that smeared paint. No, speak of the devil. So she gets Tamlin's belt off, fumbling for his pants, and there's a cough behind them. And Rhys is like, shameful. So like, Rhys is like, what are you two doing? Naughty, naughty puppies. And he's like, oh, I wonder how Amarantha would feel about this. Because, like, Tamlin's not letting her go. Like, they're not continuing, but he's still holding her. He's like, nah, this is my woman. And Rhys is like, huh, okay. I wonder what she'll do to you, Tam, when she finds out. Or maybe she'll stay true to form and she'll just punish Lucian, right? I mean, he still has one eye to lose, and it would probably look really good in another ring alongside Jurian's. And then Tamlin's like, and he lets her go. So Tamlin slinks off, and he's like, I love you, as he leaves Feyre. And Rhys is like, you know, if you're that desperate for release, you could have just asked me. Jokes aside, Rhys is pissed. Like, after Tam leaves, he goes to Feyre, like, do you have any idea what Amarantha would have done if she had seen you? Like, he's only alive because she's enjoying the process of breaking him, and she believes she will eventually break him. If she sees this nonsense, it's gonna be very bad news. And Farrah's like, what do you care? And Rhys is like, what do I care? What do I care? And his wings pop out. Because Rhys has got more skin in this game than he is letting on. As a sidebar, I've got 60 pages to read. I need to finish this tonight because tomorrow I'm in Edinburgh and I won't be able to be stoppy, starty, filming stuff. So this is probably a lie, but I may not be updating you as much with as much possibly pointless minor detail as I have been doing for this entire thing. I'm terrified about how long this video is. Because I gotta read this tonight. Yeah, lying, it's literally been a page. So all of a sudden, like, Rhys is like on her, like he's kissing her, swiping his tongue over the roof of her mouth, which, like, that's not pleasant. That's not pleasant. And then Amarantha appears. So, like, obvs, Rhys has done that to, like, cover up why they're in the, like, why they're there and why Feyre's paint is all smeared. And Feyre's just fucking oblivious. But Amarantha's obviously thrilled because she's like, well, that didn't take very long. Because obviously this whole thing is because she thinks humans are inconstant. And, like, that Feyre doesn't really love Tamlin, so... Rhys comes to see Feyre in her cell, and she's all, like, mardy with her mobs. But he's, like, he's having a vulnerable moment. And she's like, why are you here? And he's like, I just needed some peace and quiet. Like, she's like, that bitch is running me ragged. And he basically confirms that, yeah, he's kind of her sex slave. And then he's talking, they're just having, like, some chats about why he's trying to help her. And he's like, I have my reasons, you know, like, my plan is that you break the curse, and I've made Tamlin so wound up and furious that he just, like, kills Amarantha immediately. As soon as he gets his power back, he's just gonna go, like, beast mode. Kill the bitch. Hopefully I'll have enough time to get away. Why do you think I've only ever touched your waist and arms? I'm hoping you're going to vouch for me and say that I didn't force myself on you. It's like the one glimmer of, like, hope he's got in terms of convincing Tamlin that he's been on Feyre's side this time and he's just been, like, playing the part. And Feyre's like, just before he leaves, she's like, when you healed my arm, you know, you could have demanded, like, every week of the year and I would have said yes because I was so desperate. And he's like, I know. So, you know, there's a redemption arc imminent. Lads, oh lads. Okay, right. Task 3. We're nearly there. They bring in 3 hooded figures. They're all fairies. And Farah's final task is to kill them. Just stab them in the heart with an ash dagger. They're innocent. They've done nothing wrong. She just needs to kill them. And she begins. So she kills the first fairy. Traumatizing, awful, terrible. Kills the second one. Bad. She's hating herself as she's doing it. It's awful, but like, it's not just for her own life, obviously, it's for everyone, so it's rough. And then they pull off the hood of the third fairy. It's fucking Tamlin. And Amaranth is like, you just need to kill him and then you can have him. This bitch is a nightmare. Okay, so Lord. Okay. Remember our girl Alice when she was giving Feyre the advice? She said, listen. And so she has, in the instant that she's looking at Tamlin there and being like, fuck. She's like, wait, hang on. Actually, Tamlin kept engineering opportunities for her to eavesdrop and overhear things, right? He could have hidden more stuff from her, but he was obviously trying to get her throughout their relationship to overhear things. And then she remembers Lucian saying, she overheard Tamlin and Lucian arguing once. For someone with a heart of stone, you've gone very soft recently. And then she also remembered that in an exchange with the Atta, when Tamlin knew she was listening because he'd hidden her, he said, you may have a heart of stone, Tamlin. And then she's like, he's got a literal heart of stone. Never once, not even when we were shagging, did I feel his heartbeat. I can't kill him. And Amarantha knows I can't. She wouldn't actually risk Tamlin. She wouldn't go through all of this to gamble on the fact that I wouldn't kill him. So it must be that I can't kill him. I just have to show that I would be willing to kill him. Okay. And she looks at him and she thinks she sees a faint smile in his eyes, like he's seen that she's just worked it out. And she says, I love you. And she stabs him, and I have to walk the dog right now. Fuck's sake. It worked. He does have a heart of stone. She stabbed him. He didn't die. Amarantha's livid. But she's like, well, I didn't tell you I would release them straight away. Maybe I'll just wait until after you're dead. Oh, did you think what I said about the riddle with it being instantly releasing them applied to the challenges? No, you silly, stupid human. And yeah, she's like, so maybe I'll kill you now. And she like sends like magical lightning or whatever at Feyre. It is excruciatingly painful. All her bones are breaking. It's incredibly bad news. And then she sees Rhys out of the corner of her eye. He's shouting her name. He's like squatted down in front of Tamlin, but he's not helping Tamlin, who is still like keeled over. Like, he did just get stabbed in the chest, but he's already healed. He's fine. And Rhys grabs the dagger, the ash dagger, and he runs at Amarantha, but she doesn't even look at him. She just like puts up this shield wall. He bounces right off it. And now she's turning her attention to Rhysand, and he's getting the magical shit beaten out of him. Sorry, I'm in the dark. Yeah, while all this is going on, she's like trying to get Feyre to admit she doesn't love Tamlin, and Feyre's like, never. And she's having flashbacks of like all the worst moments of her life, etc. So fun. So it's a very bad time. It's a very bad time. She's continuing her assault on Feyre. She's still screaming at her, being like, admit you don't love him. And Tamlin's like, Amarantha, I'm sorry about what I said to her. Please stop, please stop, please stop. And everything's flashing through Feyre's mind, and then she's getting flashes of the riddle in her relationship with Tamlin. And she realizes the answer to the riddle is love. Okay, back. So as Feyre was like, it was love, there was like this almighty like crack in her. Very bad news. Next chapter, she's seeing out of someone else's eyes. We're suspecting it's Rhysand, because they've had this moment a couple of times before, where like maybe because of the deal and the tattoo thing, they've got this like bond. And so we think she's seeing through his eyes, and she's dead. She's like, yep, there's my dead body. But the curse is lifted because she did solve the riddle. Lucian's mask, he takes off his mask, even though he's got the facial scarring. Sarah J Maas is sure to tell us that, don't worry, he's still hot. Okay. Yeah. Tamlin goes full beast mode, runs at Amarantha. She tries to fight him off, but as Rhysand predicted, he's pissed and he's getting revenge, and he drives a sword that Lucian helpfully throws at him through her head and then rips out her throat. Cool. So now that he's killed Amarantha, Tam turns around and like realizes Feyre is like dead on the floor. She's still seeing through Rhysand's eyes. And like the High Lords, one by one, are like walking up to Tamlin, who's cradling Feyre's body, and like dropping these little like light beady things. And Tamlin's like looking at them with gratitude, and Rhysand goes last, and he's like, for what she gave, will bestow what our predecessor fucking hell, will bestow what our predecessors have granted to few before. This makes us even. And then Tamlin's got these like beads in his hand, and his hand starts glowing, and he says, I love you, to Feyre, not to Rhysand, but that would be a plot twist that I'm here for. He whispered and kissed me as he laid his hand on my heart. Is she gonna be Fae? Is she gonna become Fae? I think so. She woke up. she doesn't have any broken bones. Nice. And her skin is gleaming with a strange light, and her fingers seem longer than they were before. And she's feeling strong. She's high Fae. Cool. Okay, so in the immediate aftermath, Feyre and Tamlin go off. And Feyre's sort of trying to keep the guilt that she feels for having killed those two fairies at bay. She's incredibly traumatized. But she's sort of not ready yet to deal with it, and doesn't really know how she feels about the fact that she's now high fae. But then her and Tamlin have some alone time. And they do get down and dirty. But it's not very smutty. It's quite sweet. Not really much to report home about, you know. Not the smuttiest of smut. So cool. Yeah. So we'll see that. But Tamlin does look at her tattoo, and she's like, not now, I don't want to hear about it right now. And he's like, we'll find a way to get you out of this. I don't think you're gonna. I think we're seeing our boy Rhys. Rhys disappeared fucking quick sharp as well. Like, Tamlin ripped out Amarantha's throat, and it's like Rhys was out of there, gone. So Feyre wakes up in the middle of the night. There's this like tugging in her gut, and she knows what it means, and she follows it. Up the stairs, up the stairs, up the stairs, until she comes to some sunlight. There's like a little balcony out on the mountain, and it's Rhysand. There he is. And she's like, what are you doing here? Doesn't sound as salty as she means. And he's like, oh, you know, I just wanted to say bye before your beloved whisks you off to the spring court forever. And she's like, well, not forever, because don't I have to spend a week of every month with you? And he's like, oh yeah, you do. And she's like, what? Why did you try and save me? You know, because he like, everything that she got, he got too, at the end. And he's like, you know, in the he says something about, you know, like, I want to be remembered for being there. I want my offspring to, you know that at the end I went down fighting, but also I didn't want you to fight alone, and I didn't want you to die alone. And Feyre's reminded of, do you remember that fae that had its wings ripped off? Editing Hannah once again, and frankly, I'm amazed that this hasn't happened more in this video, but that thing with the fae who'd had its wings ripped off, that happened around the same time as the missing head video thing. So just know that it was part of the scare tactics that Amarantha was doing. This like fae appeared at the spring court before everyone went under the mountain, and it had its wings ripped off, and it was just a generally bad time, and Tamlin couldn't save it, and it died, and there was this whole moment. Okay? Don't know why I filmed this on my stairs, but there you are. Bye! That's kind of how she felt about that face. So she's like, huh, thank you. And they chat for a little bit about like flying and wings. He loves to fly, and Faye realizes how sad he must have been down in the mountain because he wasn't able to fly with his little bat wings, bat boy. And he asks her a quiet, curious question. How does it feel to be high fae? Which, interestingly, is not a question that Tamlin has asked. So, talking to Rhysand on the balcony, he's like, okay then, well, see ya. As she tells him, you know, my heart's still human, la la la. I think it would have been easier if that had changed. Too, maybe I would deal with the guilt better, la la la. They're having like a little DMC, little deep meaningful chat. And he's like, okay, bye for now. And he goes to do his like vanishing into the shadows trick, because basically like it's a night court thing. If there's a shadow, he can just sort of like, I guess, teleport. And he's going, and then his eyes lock on Feyre's, and they go wide and wild, and his nostrils flared. Shock, pure shock, flashed across his features at whatever he saw on my face, and he stumbled back a step. Actually stumbled What is... I began, and he disappeared, simply disappeared. Not a shadow in sight into the crisp air. What did he see? Oh. So they all go home. All the courts go home. They trap the remainder of Amarantha's cronies, the ones who didn't sensibly like run away, under the mountain, and then everyone goes back, and the final few pages are Feyre and Tamlin returning to the spring court, and Feyre realizes it's her home. And as they approach the manor, they hear laughing, and these two little boys come running out, and it's Alice's nephews. I can't remember if I told you about Alice and her nephews, but it's not that important, except that she's got nephews and they were in hiding because children are incredibly rare. Or younglings, as they're called in the Feywild. And Feyre's like, let's go home. And that's where it ends. Do you know what? I'll cop to it. I was snobby about this book. I was real snobby about it. And while I don't think it's a particularly well-written book, and there's definitely some problematic things in it, and I suspect there will be, I don't know if it's because I was also doing this like chat along with you at the same time, but I had a good time with it. Like, I enjoyed the reading experience, and cool. It's very unlike what I normally read. I'm partway through reading the Booker Prize long list at the minute, so it was a nice like circuit break, because it's kind of a traumatic long list this year, guys. Yeah, I had fun. So fuck, I'm so scared about how long this video is going to be. If you are still here, please let me know if you would like me to do this again for the remaining books in the series. I've put a library reservation on for the second one, A Court of Mist and Fury, and I'm gonna read it. I'm gonna read it either way. But let me know if you want me to do this, because I had quite a fun time. There wasn't as much smut as I was expecting, but I hear that book two is where it's at with the sexy scenes. So let's see, because I've heard not good things about the way she writes smut. There were definitely a few bits that I was a bit, but nothing was like making me want to put my head through a window. So, yeah. So, that was that. I'm gonna go. Bless you if you're still here. I hope you enjoyed the ride. And I will see you for something else at some point. Bye.